powerful episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host Avik, and today we are diving into a kind of challenge that many founders face. It's how to scale your business without sacrificing the most important part of life, which is your family. Yeah, and our guest today is George Rivera. So, welcome to the show, George.
Thank you, Avik. I'm very excited to be here.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, before we delve deep into the discussion, I'd quickly love to introduce you to George. So, George is the creator of the Father First Owner OS and author of Buyback Time Formula. So, he helps 7, 8, and 9 figure founders buy back 10 to 20 hours a week and end key person dependency and be fully present at home, all without shrinking their businesses. So his framework blends people who own the outcomes, systems that create consistency, and the AI that multiples efficiency, the core of his $10,000 per hour filter. So his story hits close to home. Like growing up, he watched his dad miss his games, and later his dad said, "Don't miss Leo's games." That lesson became the anchor of his life and business philosophy. So after grinding through 80 hours weeks across multiple companies, George rebuilt everything around that promise. And today, he's here to share the tools, scripts, and frameworks that can help founders reclaim their time, sanity, and family connections. So, if you're a founder who's cash rich but time poor, then this episode is going to give you practical strategies you can implement immediately. So, why do it? Let's get started. Welcome to the show again.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. You said it perfectly.
Amazing. So, Joe was like I was mentioning, watching your dad miss your games and later hearing that don't miss Leo's games. Uh, how did that shape the way that you approached work, family, and your companies?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So it all started, I would say, back when I was in, middle school and high school, in the United States, that's between sixth grade and 12th grade. And, I was an athlete in high school and I played basketball, I played baseball, some popular American sports. And, it was it's a time when kids want to showcase and share their talents to their parents, particularly the father. If you're a boy, every father or every boy rather wants to have their father, admire him and kind of show them that they're doing well and that they're proud of them. And so when I was playing, I never had my father. The stands were empty because my father chose to focus on his career more than on his family. And
Mm,
he's not a bad man. He was a very good doctor. He was great at what he did. He provided us a great lifestyle, nice
mm,
houses and cars and material things. And
mm,
everybody would like envy the stuff. I had friends that said, "Oh my gosh, you always have these cool things." But the moment I needed my dad the most, which was
mm,
getting his approval while I was playing, he wasn't there. And I remember seeing one of my teammates, they would, do something good, score a basket or make a good pass
mm,
or a good decision, and their dad was standing up and cheering like, "That's my son. Yes, I'm so proud." And I remember when I would do the same thing, I had nobody cheering for me. So I remember looking at another dad admiring his son and thinking, "I wish that was my dad." And that would have crushed my father to hear that at any point. And so yeah, that was like my first experience with that. And then if you fast forward about 20 years, so now I'm an adult, I'm working and I got my career going and I have a young family. I'm working hard, but my father gets diagnosed with cancer, and
mm,
so the year was 2015. He thought he was healthy. His parents, which are my grandparents, just passed away the year before. They were in their 90s, so he thinks, "Oh, genetics. I'm gonna live another 30 years." He was 67 years old and seemingly healthy, but he got diagnosed with cancer. Only had 6 months to live, and so we made a very nice, beautiful kind of experience of spending those last months together, catching up on a lot of time that we missed. And so, one of the things that he told me before he passed away, like you just said, he said, "Don't miss Leo's games. I missed too many of yours." And Leo's my son. He was only like a little under a year at the time,
Mm,
and it hit me in a couple of ways because first, I thought that I suppressed all that information, that memory, that pain from him missing those games. I thought that was long gone in the history of my past in my mind, never to be seen again. And when he said that, it sort of like brought it back up again. And it was almost like a sweet closure, like he
yeah.
acknowledged it. And there was something special about that. And then the second thing after the special part, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm repeating the same mistake that you're telling me about right now.
Yes.
And so that's when I became aware that I need to change something because I am duplicating the life that my
Mhm.
father had. And my dad eventually lost his family. He lost us, that my parents separated. You can't sustain a family when working that hard. And I was on my way of doing the same thing. And so what happened was I became aware that I had to change, but I'm working 14, 16-hour days. So like, yeah, I want to not miss games. I want to be present. I want to see my son walk and take his first steps and talk, but I have so much work to do. Who's going to do everything that I have to do? Because I'm the provider. I'm giving my family a good house, a good life, nice trips. And if I stop doing that, the whole thing falls apart. And so it took about 3 years, but then I reached the point where my business had reached a level of success of $20 million for that year, and I was making a lot of money, but I was hating life because I was tied like a ball and chain to my business. And I had 40 people that worked for me, but everything kept coming up to me for me to solve the problem. And I'm an expert in marketing, I'm an expert in sales copy and media, in
Mm,
customer conversion. I don't like administrative. I don't like operations, and that takes a different kind of, skill set, a different type of brain to really do well with that. The same person shouldn't be doing both operations and marketing because it's just different parts of the brain. So I was ready to walk away from the business. I was probably on my way to sabotage the business. When you don't like something, you sort of just you almost like rebel against it. And I
mhm.
had a phone call with a good friend of mine, and I just told him, I hate this business and I really just hate where my life is going here. And he told me, he's like, you got something really good going. You need to focus on the things that you do well and the things that you don't like to do. You need to have somebody else do them because there's other people that love to do what you don't like to do. And I was like, "Oh my goodness." And so that was the beginning of what
Mm,
I'm talking about here with the buyback time formula. It didn't have the name back then, but that was the beginning of the frameworks that I implemented in order to buy back my time. And so what happened was I started doing this. I would say it took about 3 years because you have to like implement, you got to make sure it's working, you got to have faith and confidence in the system. But at the peak, we did almost $50 million in business. So I went from 20 to almost 50. But my time, I was hardly working at all. I wasn't working any more than 30 hours a week. And some weeks, actually some months, I was completely what they say off the grid, just completely unreachable. Traveling, spending time with my family, teaching my son how to buy real estate because I'm investing in different things. I'm starting other businesses. And so I'm really, sitting on top of life, both on the financial side and on the presence side of things. And so a couple years goes by and I have different peers and friends and different networks. They don't talk to each other, but they all came to me saying, you need to teach this. You need to teach people how you're living like this because people would love to learn. And I'm like, "I don't know how to do that. I'm not a teacher. I just do it. I've been doing this because there's coaches out there that they teach and they've never done it, but they know how to teach it. I'm the other way. I'm like, I've never coached it or taught it. I've only done it. And so over the last 6, 7 months, I would say the frameworks kind of came together. The concept of buying back time came together. I wrote this book. And
mm,
honestly, like when you implement these frameworks in your business, you do buy back time, you do increase profit, and now you're able to do things with that time that it's really whatever you want. And so I'm a family first, father first guy. So my story resonates and connects with other fellow founders who are also fathers who are sacrificing their family in pursuit of financial success. And I'm here to say, stop missing the moments that matter because your kids need you. They don't need another iPhone or another iPad because that's where they're going to get their knowledge from if they don't get it from you. Your kids need you. And so that's where everything started. And so I put it all in a book. So I knew I throw a lot at you there, but I just wanted to give you the whole thing right away.
No, that's really, really, really definitely great one. Uh, and listeners, I mean, this is such a powerful reminder. Like the moments that we miss with family are irreversible, I'd say. And um, George built a system to ensure that you can grow your business and still show up where it truly matters. So that's the good part about it. And uh, so, dear listeners, I mean, before I go to the everyone, delegating outcomes instead of tasks sounds very simple, but it's not always kind of intuitive. So, Joe's like, how do you train people to take the ownership without the founder kind of micromanaging? So,
Mhm.
so that like, I mean, how do you never take that money back? I mean, so what do you say?
Yeah, so that's a good question because I can hear people when they hear delegation, they think, "Oh, I've tried delegation," and I always get stuck doing the same thing over and over again. And what
Mm,
I tell them is, I was too. I used to do that back when 2018, when I was doing my 20 million and I was burned out. I had 40 people I could delegate to, but
mm,
everything kept coming back to me. So how did that change? So what happened was I had to put an organizational structure onto my team because if you can visualize, it was me and then 40 people in a big, just, like, almost like a, what is it, like a horizontal line across,
mm,
instead of like a more of a structure where it's me and then like two people under me, and then whatever's left of those 40 people are under those two people, if that makes sense, you having executives and managers. And so when you assign people like roles, and I tell them you are responsible for the outcome of this role,
mm,
and so instead of just assigning a task, just get this done, and then you don't provide clear instructions, clear SOPs,
yeah,
like Loom instructional videos on how to do it. And now that we have AI and, Chat GPT, you can have it help you create these professional looking standard operating procedures to streamline everything. And ever since I started doing that, it's been great. I give them what's called the decision rights. So anything that costs under $500 that you need to do, just go do it. Don't bother me. If it costs more than 500, then yeah, let's talk about it because it's an expensive, potentially an expensive decision. And then whenever we meet, say once a week, we can discuss those smaller expenses to see if it makes sense to continue or to add on or to adjust. And so, yeah, just kind of structuring them and empowering them in a way that provides, the step by step, structure to it, where they don't need to come back to you for every question.
mm,
That's really how it's done. And how do you determine what those tasks are? Is you got to review your say your past week, for example, and how many times did you repeat something that you could have just done once and created,
mm,
an SOP for that. Those are the kind of what I call the low hanging fruit of buying back your time.
mm.
There's a lot more to it, but that's a quick and easy win, is if you're able to systematize something that you do over and over.
Exactly. Yep. So,
Mm.
I mean, if you can share a story where this approach created kind of a real mental space for you at home and also a measurable impact on the business.
Absolutely. So I used to be in like quality control of my sales process.
Okay.
And, quality control, it's important, but
Mm,
I don't need to be doing it. It could be somebody else who has the instructions of what to look for when they're quality controlling a sales process. Should we have this? Should yes or no? What's the outcome of this? What's the consequence of this? Those kind of things that can all be outlined in one time, and somebody can repeatedly do that over and over again. Otherwise, it would take me 3 or 4 hours to do that.
mm,
And that takes me away from growing the business. I should be looking at ways to increase the business and grow the business, not, try to like work through our sales funnel that somebody else could do and
mm,
with proper instruction. Of course, I need to invest the time one time to create the documentation and the videos to show how to do it. But once that's done, it lives on, on the cloud for to
right.
educate people for me, instead of me having to do that. And that frees up my time so I can rest and recharge more if I need to. I can focus on growing my business if I need to. I can do networking. I can do, interviews like this to help get the word out. This is
Mm,
all stuff that it frees me up to do instead of, doing things in the business. Important, yes, but it does not move the needle as far as bringing in revenue or creating exposure or awareness for what you're talking
mm.
about.
Exactly, exactly true. Yep. And also, for the I mean, definitely listeners, like this is just about kind of working smarter and not harder. I mean, the mental load is often heavier than the hours themselves, and delegation done right is liberating, right?
Yeah.
So, George, like for the founders who are kind of struggling to balance growth with the family, uh, what's the first actionable framework or the script they can implement today to start buying back their time? So, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I think the first thing, because we have to be aware of what it is we're doing. It's almost like our roadmap. We need to know what it is we're looking at. So what I tell people is look at your last 1 or 2 weeks on your calendar.
Mm,
Now I say that, and some people say, well, I have meetings on my calendar, but I don't really put like I was working on this or working on that on the calendar, and that's fine. If you haven't, like me, I didn't, but I started to. So I would say if you don't have a history of that, then that's okay. Start today, or say you'll start tomorrow. And then you want to document everything that you're doing. Don't think about, making it perfect. Just have a record of what it is that you're doing. And then after 2 weeks, look at everything you've done. And you have to treat your time like it's worth a dollar amount. So in my case, I like to say the $10,000 per hour value. But let's just say somebody says they're worth $500 an hour. Doesn't matter. That's just an example. But let's say if you're doing a task that you could pay somebody else $20 an hour, and I'm talking USD, per hour, then that's something you should not be doing because you're worth $500, not $20. And if you have a team and people to delegate to, then that's where it should go. And you should find out who on your team should do that. Now, if
right.
you don't have anybody on your team that can handle that certain task, then you have to consider outsourcing that. There's plenty of places to find extra help. There's a lot of outsourcing sites online with a lot of great talent all over the world that can do a lot of the tasks that we, as the founders, seem to put pressure on ourselves to complete. But there's other people that can do it for a fraction of the cost, frees up your time to focus on growing the business. And so, yeah, the first thing I would do, you gotta, what is it that you're doing? How much is your time worth? And stop doing the things that are worth little and
Mm,
stay only to the things that are worth higher. And I boil it down to things that grow the business, those are higher.
mm,
Things that sort of like administrative, important, yes, important, but that's not where the founder should be.
mm. Exactly. Great. So, any advice you'd like to share with the listeners today?
Yeah, kind of going back to the father first mentality, because
Mm,
I might have mentioned, like, when you buy back time, you don't have to be a father. You could be a 50-year-old woman who's single and you have lots of cats and you love to travel, and you want to
mm,
spend time with your cats, or you want to travel more when you buy back time.
mm,
It doesn't really matter wherever you are in life. But again, I'm family first, father first, so I resonate with people that are fathers, that are dads, who are feeling trapped in their business. So I tell people, like, be aware of these moments that you're missing because they never come back. I wish I had the number in front of me, but you'd be shocked at how small, how many days that we have on this earth alive. I don't know. It's just small. Whatever that number is, it is a small number. And then imagine the number of days that you have for your child to be young is even smaller, very, very small. And so every day, every moment that passes and you haven't made an impact is a day that you can never get back. And one thing that I like to say to people is, on your deathbed, like when you're close to dying and being gone from this world, nobody ever says, I'm so thankful that I missed your game to go to a client meeting. Nobody says that, but we seem to do that a lot, so we need to be aware now so that we minimize our regrets later. We're probably always going to have a little regret. Nobody's perfect, right? But we want to minimize the regret so that by the time we get to the end of our days, we're able to say, you know what? Yeah, I could have done things a little better. Everybody can. But you know what? I gave it my best. And when I became aware that there was a better way, I took it, I took advantage of it. And now, hopefully, you're in a happy place in life. You feel accomplished and you've passed down your legacy. So your children and maybe your grandchildren at that time are doing the same thing. That would be the most awesome thing is if they were passing it down as well. So yeah, that's what I would say is just basically to kind of tie it all together. I would just say stop missing the moments that matter, and you don't have to sacrifice your family for business. You can have them both. You just have to decide that you want them both.
Exactly. Exactly true. Amazing. And wow, what a takeaway. So, George, thank you so much for sharing
Yes.
these frameworks and the real world tools. And I would say that you have helped us that founders can scale businesses and still be fully present for life's most important moments. And
Yes.
for all our,
Awesome. Well, thank you, Avik. Yeah,
yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. And for the listeners, I would say that uh, just think about the moments that you are missing today. Like which frameworks, delegation strategies, or the AI tools that can put in place this week to start buying back time. Yeah. So check out George's Father First Owner OS and his book Buyback Time Formula for a step by step blueprint to reclaim your schedule, protect your family, and grow your business without becoming the bottleneck. And George, if someone wants to connect with you, what will be the great medium to connect?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, my social handles are all pretty much buyback time formula. So
Mhm.
that's a great way. Buybacktimeformula.com. You can land there, and then that page should have a link to all my socials. Feel free to find me on Facebook, connect with me. If you happen to get the book and you got questions, feel free to reach out and ask me. I'm happy to, just be a friend and answer any questions. I'm living this amazing life, and it's my hope that, hey, I got a lot of people to join me living this amazing life.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links into the show notes for easy reference. And always remember that healthy mind and healthy life aren't just about your success, they are all about the presence, connection, and building a legacy that you can be proud of. So, until next time, this is your host, Avik, and this is Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. Be happy, take care, and thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.